How did this show actually exist?
I'll kill him, little midget. Stick a parking cone up his ass.
Hello, you beautiful people. Did your school film all your failures so that millions of people could laugh at them worldwide? No? Well, that's exactly what's happening in today's show, Educating Yorkshire. This show documents the daily struggles of teachers and students at Thornhill Academy, and the producers really like to fixate on the evil problem children at the school. Because who's going to give you the best content? The child with 10 A stars or the child with 10 teeth? And as the show progresses, we see if the teachers can turn the child's school life around, or if they're too far gone and need to be expelled. So let's see if this show works and if they're successful. I want to focus on one particular student today called Jack. Just a quick backstory. He's in year 9, he's 13 years old. He's recently moved to this school 6 months ago because his family moved, and he feels a little bit like an outsider, which I think's fair when moving to a new school. The reason that I want to focus on Jack is because he's a little bit of a nutcase, but he's also hilarious.
Miss, can we learn a different song instead of this? It's too complicated.
I rate it though. He's like, miss, can we bin off this Ness and Dorma bollocks and play some real music? Key changes, can't do that for me. Give us a little bit of ice spice, something to work with. We then meet a couple of students from the school, for instance the headmaster, Mr. Mitchell, and he says he wants Jack to feel really welcome. We also meet Mr. Burton, who takes his tea bag out of his mug with a stapler.
Interesting implement used to take tea bag out of cup today. I'm using a stapler.
Well, it's nice to see that Jack's in capable hands. Can just imagine his mother watching this going, oh, why did we send him there? To be fair to Mr. Burton, he's ticked off number 2 on his personal learning and thinking skill sheet. Creative thinker right there. Fair play, Mr. Burton. As they say, a great teacher leads by example. We then see our first issue with Jack as he turns up to school late on Monday morning.
It's 9:30 on Monday morning, and Jack is late for school.
Christ, it's like Ice Age out there. The kid's only got a jumper on. When he gets home, he's gonna have to book a monthly subscription to Lemsip Max. I also rate that because he's late for school. Nobody else is gonna be in the yard, but he still makes a snowball just in case there's any year 7s about. Smart, okay? Like, look at his face here. That is the face of a man that has came face to face with the devil. Mr. Mitchell then gives us like a brief introduction into Jack's personality so we can get to know him a bit better.
Jack's a handful. I think when he first walked through the door, he was all sweetness and light, and quickly became apparent that that probably wasn't all the story. He's got a temper, the likes of which I've rarely seen.
Sorry, are we talking about a student here or the Incredible Hulk? Moving on, we then get introduced to this woman called Miss Marsden, who is an absolute legend. She's like a pastoral worker, so she'll like offer Jack like a bit more help on the side just to make sure that he's like, you know, getting through school okay. For instance, we know that Jack was late this morning. Well, he was also late but wearing trainers, so she had to give him some shoes out of lost property.
So what kind of a day are you going to have to do?
Don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. Damn, Daniel! Honestly though, look at the selection of plimsolls he's got to choose from. What is going on? I can smell the stench through the screen. Miss Marsden then sits down with Jack to go through his behaviour report, and she's shocked with what she sees, and Jack's response is quite hilarious.
What's that? 134 behaviour points. What the hell have you been doing?
See, if this was me, like, I would start crying in school. I'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry, man. Mr. Mitchell then says his first of many sarcastic comments about Jack.
Saying something inappropriate to a member of staff or to another student, causing a disruption, they all get you minus points. Jack is, as far as we're concerned, the Olympic champion of behaviour points.
Can you imagine if that was actually a sport in the Olympics? Like, how would you train for a bad behaviour gold medal? I'm trying to think. Would you just go around town, like, kicking grannies? Fucking get out there, Doris. And I think Jack's response to his behavioural reports and also Mr. Mitchell's comments kind of shows early on that Jack doesn't care about upsetting the teachers or other people in school. And this is further proven by the next clip.
Jack goes into his first lesson.
Alertness.
Alright, let's get in the middle table, please.
Alright. Who are you, man? Fuck up.
Yeah, that's your verbal warning, but not disrupt this lesson.
Oh my god. Honestly, if my nana found out that I talked to a teacher like that when I was in school, I feel like she'd just cut me tongue out. Also though, just to balance it out a little bit, was that teacher not very confrontational as soon as Jack entered the classroom? Like, she kind of started the confrontation. I know Jack was late, but he was quite like respectful walking in. However, I do get it from some of the teachers' point of views. Like, if you've got a child like Jack who clearly needs, you know, specialised attention, it can be a bit demoralising patronising because you don't get paid more to kind of deal with all this kind of crap, and they're already underpaid and overworked as it is. So I guess I can understand why some teachers probably have a shorter fuse with him. And what is surprising is you wouldn't think Jack would be self-aware about his behaviour, but he actually really is.
What do you think it would be like teaching you?
I wouldn't be able to. I'd have throttled him by now if I were a teacher and I'd tell someone like me.
That is actually like a really mature response for someone that is constantly being labelled as immature. We then learn that term only started 3 days ago, and Jack has in fact missed 1/3 of his lessons already. And this is due to the fact that during lesson time, he just walks around school.
I think the major challenge with Jack is actually just keeping him on the premises.
I'm going to walk back in a minute.
No, you don't have to Jack.
Why is he talking like that? He's talking like, you know, when you're in the car trying to talk to somebody that's outside of the car, but you've got the window up. I'm gonna drive off and I'll see you later, right? Are you alright, mate? See you later, bye. Now, obviously, the teachers don't want Jack just aimlessly wandering around school in lesson time, right? Wrong! No, they actually do. Mr. Mitchell says that they don't actually really want Jack behind his desk because it disrupts everybody else in the classroom.
It's not even about getting him sat down behind a desk, because we know full well that that would cause disruption for everybody else, and we can't have that.
So basically, you're just happy for him to walk around school because it's the lesser of two evils for you. Just let him wander around. It'll help his Fitbit. He'll get a record time. He maybe might get into the Olympics for it. And credit to the interviewer, because the interviewer calls Mr. Mitchell out on this.
But ultimately, is he not here to be in the classroom?
Yeah. No, I suppose.
Yeah, but, no, but, yeah, but. No, but alright, Vicky Pollard, calm down. I can't believe that they're just fine with him walking up and down the corridors. He's basically Thornhill's Academy's answer to Nearly Headless Nick. Just like, oh, there he goes again. Hello, Jack. You alright, son? Put the kettle on while you're at it. You might as well. You've got time. Side note as well, Jack must be strong as fuck, because look at his mate's reaction after he gives him a high five.
Jack is finding it
Severely regretting that decision to get the high five. He's gonna have to layer his palm in a vino cream when he gets home. Now, in the next part of the show, Miss Marsden really shows like how emotionally intelligent she is, because she seems to understand why Jack's pattern of behaviour seem to be happening.
Jack is finding it difficult to trust people. He does have trouble building up relationships.
Miss Marsden's like skill of dealing with these students is also further emphasised when another student called Lydia comes to her with like a relationship problem, I guess. This girl called Lydia broke up with her partner. Now, she thought they were fine. However, her ex-partner deleted her off BBM, so in retaliation, Lydia punched her locker in.
They deleted me, so I punched the locker.
A fair trade, in my opinion. You block her, you lose your locker. Miss Marsden then asks if this is a boyfriend issue for Lydia, and then Lydia actually says no, and then Miss Marsden like helps her come out and say that Lydia's actually bisexual, and this is an issue with her girlfriend. And after Lydia comes out as bisexual to Miss Marsden, you can kind of see her face drop as she realises she's told like an adult. And I think this is again like such a credit to Miss Marsden, because Lydia clearly feels comfortable with Miss Marsden and trusts her to like show such a personal thing to her.
Do you definitely know that you prefer girls?
I'm not a lesbian.
You think you're bisexual?
Yeah.
Right, that's really brave. Right, then you're a right confident girl, aren't you?
It just shows the impact that these kind of pastoral teachers have on, like, you know, students' lives, because I feel like if Lydia said this to Mr. Mitchell would have told her to do a few laps of the school. We then come back to Jack, who has a conversation with Mr. Moses, who's his head of year. And this conversation shows clear as day the difference between a subject teacher and a pastoral teacher. Mr. Moses asks Jack if he had a good Christmas, and Jack says no because his grandma died. And, you know, instead of asking, like, Jack, how you feeling? Are you okay? Mr. Moses just asks if his grandma's been cremated or buried.
One thing that were bad about it, my grandma died.
Oh, damn. Was she buried or cremated?
Sorry, what? Thanks, Mr. Moses. While you're at it, have you got any other emotionally available questions you want to ask? What font was your grandma's will typed up in? Arial Black or Proxima Nova? Jack then kind of opens up and talks about how a butterfly came to his grandma's caravan, and Jack believes in reincarnation, so he believes that the butterfly was his grandma, which, you know, is kind of like a grieving process, right?
That's quite profound, that, Jack.
Yep.
Fucking hell. God, this guy's a barrel of laughs, isn't he? Bet he's for the parties. That is the side of a man that has been told to suppress every single emotion he's ever had since he was born. We then later find out that Jack's favourite thing in his entire life is his family.
I love my family.
He must have been close to his grandma, and this might be a reason why he's acting out and behaving the way he is. Like, Jack's 13, you know, this is probably his first kind of dealing with death, so surely he's going through like a big grieving process right now without actually knowing what he's going going through. Furthermore, Mr. Mitchell is back at it again with another one of his sarcastic comments as he says Jack gives off traveller vibes.
Jack comes across as being this transient sort of kid, and I'm sure that's picked up from his family background. You know, I know there is some history of traveller in the family. I wonder if that ever goes away.
So basically, you hope that his heritage leaves him. Yeah, you know, I hope that Jack one day lives in a house which doesn't have wheels and is covered by the AA. Like, what does that even mean? Free my guy Jack from the band, or what am I saying? We then get our first glimpse of Jack's mum, I imagine, who, judging by her jacket, has just told a bunch of rude boys to shut up. Why did that sound so white? A bunch of rude boys to shut up. And then we get another cutscene, and I think that's one of my favourite things about this show, how the cutscenes like really break up the story, and this cutscene is of Mrs. Marden trying to get a phone to work. Why is this just like every single grandparent ever? This bloody stupid thing, it never bloody works, man. Don't even know why I'm paying the £5 a month for it. It's bloody awful. They've always got like those type of brick phones as well, you know, that they can like snap after they ring for a taxi from the bingo and throw it in the river. Proper drug dealer phone. The show then progresses a month and we have a clip of Jack in his favourite lesson ever, which is history. His history teacher is called Mr. Griffin, and Mr. Griffin says that it's like a pleasure to have Jack because he's like so invested in the subject. And the show really shows it, as every single question he's got his hand up and he's actually really knowledgeable.
Anybody else got anything else to say about the first source?
I think it's all going to be Victory because it is from a British newspaper.
Brilliant, that's a really good answer.
Go on, Jack. Go on, son. Love it. And on the topic of Jack's favourite subject, history, he then has a meeting with Mr. Steer, who's in charge of like choosing what students can study at GCSE level. Now, Jack really wants to study history, and it's Mr. Steer's job to give him the opportunity if he feels like it's right for him. So hopefully, you know, Mr. Steer can, you know, steer Jack in the right... I can't. I want to see if he gets picked. I'm rooting for him. I guess we'll have to wait until the end to see, though. Jack then says if he doesn't get picked, he's going to have a word with Mr. Mitchell, the head teacher.
I'll be gutted. I'll probably go to Mr. Mitchell and have a word with him about it.
This kid is hard as fuck. This kid has seen shit. Yeah, if he doesn't pick us for history, I'll probably just storm the headmaster's office and put his head in a master lock. Then we'll see who can study Anne Boleyn. We're then blessed with another fantastic cutscene. Firstly, with a girl getting body slammed to the floor. Why did that girl sound like one of them plants off Harry Potter? And then they cut to a lad just throwing digs at another girl for no apparent reason, but she is fuming. If you are a girl that went to this school, I'm pretty sure that you will be entitled to some sort of compensation. Can't even get the lesson without getting body slammed or punched in the arm repeatedly. Another weird thing about this school, and I don't know if this is weird, but the students are allowed to be in the staff room with the teachers. I don't know about you, but in my school, no student was dare setting foot in the staff room. They weren't allowed. There could have been child sacrifices in there, and nobody would have knew. The windows were blacked out and everything. It was like an 18-year-old boy's courser outside a McDonald's. So coming back to Jack, after he was told that he needs to be on his best behaviour to be able to study his favourite subject, history, at GCSE level, his response is to act worse than ever.
Who do you think he is? I can't even... Who are you looking at?
If I had to walk past Jack in school, I would poop myself.
Who do you think he is? I can't even... Who are you looking at?
Just me socks, mate. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The show then cuts back to the interview with Mr. Mitchell, and he's saying that Jack's like dreaming all this stuff, that people are being mean to him and it's not actually happening. However, see if you agree with this, but from the next clip, that just proves that false.
Yeah, touch me again, I'm fucking breaking up.
Like you see there, the kids are clearly trying to wind him up because they know he's got a show of fuse, like even the kid that's just patting him as they walk past. But because the teachers probably don't see this because it's not usually on camera and they only see Jack's reaction, he just gets all the blame for it. Jack then has another meeting with his head of year, and I've got something to point out. If you don't want students like Jack, don't put posters up saying, "Be a loudmouth," okay? Because you're just shooting yourself in the foot there, Mr. Moses. Splitting the Red Sea, more like splitting my opinion, my friend. You've even got a Manchester City mug, and that's still not the biggest mug in picture. They don't even really get into the conversation of this meeting, and then Jack gets angry and storms off and tells the teacher to F off.
That's the sort of stuff that
I do need to stay
Right,
away
Jack,
from him,
I'm
don't I?
trying to... 3 times I've tried to talk to you, and you're talking over me.
Fucking hell.
Christ, he's an angry elf. Look at his face as he storms off, yeah. Looks like he's on his way to WrestleMania. That's how I walk out of Tesco when I kinda get money off a bottle of gin with me club card. Jack then thinks he's in a Royal Rumble as he starts on a year 7 and says he's gonna shove a parking cone up his bum, which is an imaginative insult to come up with. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Come on then. Yeah, throw water on there.
It's lunchtime and a dinner lady has to break up some trouble between Jack and a younger student.
I'll kill him, little midget.
Stick a parking cone up his ass.
Jack then gets pulled by Mr. Burton, who seems to be like a fan favourite of this series, and he rings Jack's mum to say like she has to come and collect him from school. However, Jack storms off and says,
I'll walk home, I'm not bothered.
Jack, just wait there.
Bollocks, man.
You can't get out of school
I
anyway.
don't give a shit. This is shit, man.
me when I get to the front of the Greggs queue and they've run out of steak bakes. He then storms out of school swearing his head off. Did I just have a voice break there?
Jack, your mum's on her way. Your mum's coming to collect you.
Jack then gets excluded for the next day, which I guess gives him an entire day to find a parking cone for that kid. If I was that kid, I would fake an illness and take the week off. Okay, have a pamper week. Stay as far away from Jack during this week as possible. Talking about illnesses, we then see this cutscene clip.
He's all steamed up, I can't even see.
Oh, shush.
Christ, are they having a bong in class? Oh no, don't know why my head went straight at that. Hello, sir. Loving the trigonometry, by the way. You don't mind if I just spark up at the back, do you? Yeah? Great, okay. I'm seeing cause tan is lit, bro. However, the teachers seem to be more bothered about if someone's chewing gum.
Max, empty your mouth.
I'm not chewing.
Really?
Alright, mate, calm down. It's not a bush tucker trial. Sorry, mate, now I'm looking, I think there's a little bit of Wrigley's extra at the top of your mouth there. Rice and beans for you, sir. The next day, Jack and his mum then get pulled into the school for a meeting before his first day back, and it's with Mr. Burton, and Mr. Burton is like unreal here. Like, he's so empathetic towards like Jack's situation, but also is hard on him and tells him exactly what he needs to hear. This conversation goes on for quite a bit, so I'll just summarize it, but basically he figures out that Jack doesn't have like a male role model in his life, and Mr. Burton's trying to offer that as much as he can, and obviously the lack of a male role model in Jack's life surely has had an effect on like how he conducts himself. But one thing you can't deny is how much he loves his mom, and he says a lot of the kids like take the piss out of his mom, and that's why he reacts, and Mr. Burton like sympathizes with him on that, but says the way that he responds to it is not always the best, which I feel like is a fair comment. If someone's chatting rubbish about your mom, you're not going to be like friendly about it, are you? You're not going to be like, sorry mate, what was that? Did you say my mom's a dirty slag? Oh, no worries. Do you want a chewy? We then see one really positive sign of progress with Jack, because someone was winding him up in the exact same spot in the corridor where he made the parking cone comment and then started trying to batter the kid. However, this time, this was his reaction.
I nearly said it, miss, but I never saw you. You're my witness, I never said it, did I?
Go on, Jack, son. Go on. Honestly, love it. The tension between Jack and using the word parking cone is off the Richter scale.
You know what they're trying to do, don't you?
Probably trying to wind me up.
But what do you think you did on this time last week?
I was probably headbutted him.
We're making some progress, yes?
We'll take any progress at this point. Now, at this point, it looks like we've turned a corner. Jack's not, threatening anyone. It looks like we're on the up, right?
And it's not long before Jack's anger gets the better of him.
I'm actually going to go and get my lunch now.
I'm not dismissed yet.
Well, sir, if I
You're being
stay,
insolent and
if
rude
I
to me
stay,
now.
I will actually swear at you, so I'm
Well, sit
going
down
to
where you can swear.
Oh, for fuck's sake, Jack! Honestly, Jack, you make my mood go up and down more than bloody antidepressants, man. Also, why did the teacher say that?
Sit down where you can swear, as long as nobody else hears you.
What do you mean? That makes no sense at all. Honestly, Jack, you swear your head off all you want, sunshine, but as long as you whisper, because then it doesn't count. Also, cross your fingers, right? Because that means something. The teachers then all group together and collectively agree that Jack needs to spend some permanent time out of school.
I've never seen a kid get beyond 85 behaviour points in this school. Jack's on 170, it's January.
To be fair, credit where credit's due. That's tremendous stats from Jack. If he keeps up at this rate, he'll induct himself into the Yorkshire Hall of Fame, alongside all the greats. The Yorkshire Ripper, Yorkshire Puddings, Dwight York. And this is the first time that we're seeing Mr. Mitchell show some empathy towards Jack's situation. And he says that he feels like he's let Jack down.
If he's not supported emotionally and behaviourally, he won't make it. He just won't make it. And he will become my first permanent exclusion. I will have let him down.
And at this point, Jack just holds L after L.
Is that alright with you? Oh my god.
Shortly after this, which you didn't see, which they actually cut, is Jack went back to them steps and told the third step from the top that if it wasn't careful, he's gonna shove a parking cone up it. But the step agreed to behave, so they went their separate ways. The next part of the show is Jack at this specialised unit, which I believe is part of the school, just kind of in another building, where he continues to do certain subjects, but he has one-to-one specialised attention from another teacher, and it really helps with his progress, and he seems to actually change for the better during this. And then he comes back into school school after his exclusion and talks to Mr. Mitchell, and his conversation with Mr. Mitchell is like so wholesome.
You're helping yourself massively by behaving yourself. Do you know what though? It's fabulous to see you smiling for a change.
Moving on from this, it's the big reveal whether Jack has qualified to study history at GCSE level.
Speaking to Mr. Giffin for quite a long time, Mr. Giffin has agreed to give you a chance with history next year.
Come on!
I've had to do a lot persuading you, Jack. A lot of persuading, alright?
I love doing these videos because I feel so fucking class after. And he has a quick meeting with Miss Marston after this, and Miss Marston says that his last like behavioural complaint was over a month ago, so Jack has like fully turned his school life around here. Bless him, man. Like honestly, he deserves it so much. He's even back in choir lessons giving his mate advice.
What do you want to do? Breathe like that.
Alright, Andrea Pacelli, calm down. I think he's getting a little bit confident here. Maybe he needs to be brought down a peg or two again.
So much of a change to me, it's unbelievable.
I did some research to see how like this school's getting on now, and Mr. Mitchell did an interview recently with The Independent where he said if the show came back to film, the show would be a lot worse because all the students are apparently a lot more well behaved. And apparently I checked as well, and for Thornhill Academy there's like a massive waiting list to get your child into that school, so clearly it must be going alright. Unless parents just want their children to be TV stars, then that is also, you know, a subplot in there. Let me know if you'd like me to break down more education videos. 2,000 likes on this video and I'll pick one. And watch my video on an even worse TV show here. Click it, quick!